Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me live today on Emily Harrington's page, who has facilitated this for her digital CEO, SEO in the brain of course, her digital CEO series, and I am so glad to be participating today. And spoiler alert, I have another one coming up in a couple of weeks as well. So thank you for joining me. I will be waiting about a 30-second leeway to make sure that everyone can join us, but I won't drag on the wait time so long that, no one loves that. We'll give it a good 30 seconds and then we will get started. In the meantime, I will introduce myself and what it is that I do, or quicker would be what I don't do. So my name is Stephanie DeMontney and I am from Ottawa, Ontario, born and raised in the GTA, but I've been living in Ottawa for over a decade now, so I consider it my home. My primary business is a portrait photography studio in Ottawa. I do pregnancy through baby's first year and babies and beyond with families as well. And I also run a mom blog where I post about the daily struggles and wins of being a work from home boss. And I used to have a third business where I taught SEO to small business owners, and I have amalgamated that one into the Boss Mama Diaries, and that's where I am now an educator on all things behind the scenes of business. So not just SEO, we do the profitability, the website, the actual business of doing things, scheduling time, at home, work-life balance. It's not quite what you think it is. I have a whole workshop to go on that. But now that you've had the chance to join in, I will jump into today's workshop on the Digital CEO series, which will also be available on the Boss Mama Education website as well. So for today, I realize it's backwards, SEO for bloggers and small businesses. So to start off, I will ask the question that I will be answering. Why should we be blogging? Whether we are bloggers or small business owners, there's obviously a difference in terms of what you will be blogging, but the why is pretty well the same. The biggest why is always for your human clients and readers, is that you actually get to provide value to the people, the real humans going to your website and reading what you post about. So that value is first and foremost what you want to have there. So don't just post content to have content. It's not doing anyone any favors, wasting your time, wasting their time. You want to make sure those are valuable content. So for that, yes, keeping up with blogging is definitely a full job in itself, and I do have a few planning tips that I can give you guys all at the end as well. But to answer the question of why you should be blogging in terms of, humans, check, but also the robots of the world, because they're the things that are actually going to spread your content as much, if not more, than the actual humans. So a message we would love for, hey, Susie Q reading our blog post, sharing it to her friend, Jane, who reads it and shares it along. Awesome, great value content does that in itself. But if we don't have someone to read it and share it for us to get that ball rolling, the search engines will help get the strangers, and that further, the seventh degree of separation going in terms of sharing. So blog posts do help with the SEO juice of your website. And what that means in layman's terms is that SEO stands for search engine optimization, and that translates to when you're searching for something in Google or Bing or Yahoo or any others that may come to exist or existed in the past, you type something in because that's what you want to find. Well, you want your blog post to be found when someone's searching for particular search words or topics that you actually talk about. So it's actually creating the connection of those two things. So then the question of, how to do that, and I will cover it, I promise. So the other reason why blogging as a small business owner and as a blogger, that's kind of what we do, but it sets you apart from others. So if business A and business B do the exact same thing, the exact same service or product, but one of them also has a website and a blog that say, let's say, hey, here's other cool unconventional ways you can use the product, or hey, if this happens to your product, you can do this to fix it or to enhance it or to do something else. This business is automatically more valuable if they're offering the same thing. Similar concept applies to influencers. There are two ways to look at influencers. There are those who provide value to their readers and their audience and help businesses reach new audience. And then there are of course, we all know of one in our circle of the influencer who one day decided to accept a free product for a post, and that's kind of what they do. I'm not here to say which one or which is not right. You get where I'm going. But having that blog definitely sets you apart from someone who, let's say, just uses Instagram for their business. And yes, influencer and bloggers are a business. Don't sell yourself short. You are the product/service. You deserve recognition, and don't sell yourself short. You are a business. If you are bringing in income, that's the goal, then you are a business. Moving on from there. So once you have established your value that sets you apart for your human readers, then we start diving into the robot part. So this is where it gets a little bit more technical, where if you are wanting to rewatch, it will be posted in the IGTV as well on my own site as well. And I do have a 5-day SEO challenge that will be starting on March 1st, so you have a week to figure out your stuff on the back end before we start. There is a link in my bio on bossmama.collective or on Boss Mama Diaries, or you can go to, it will be in the description, education.bossmamadiaries.com to sign up, and I will make sure that gets sent to you, and I'll touch again on it at the end of the workshop today. So next is the why, but more so the how, in terms of, okay, we've mentally prepared, we are going to optimize our website. The what? How? The challenge will help. It'll give you step by step. But in short, you want to make sure everything on your website is optimized, not just your website, because as much as your website is the whole thing, it's only one little tiny part of the actual optimization process. So when I say everything, I literally mean everything. You want the URL in that address bar, like the www.com/ whatever comes after. You want to make sure that's optimized too. Again, back to those real humans, it's easy for someone to just type in if they've heard it. You don't want to have some WP156876 what? Have it an easy URL. So the 5-day challenge is 5-day-challenge. Super easy. And from there, the URLs, but also the headings, the subtitles, the different sections of each blog post, you want to make sure that they're optimized literally for what you're talking about. So if you're talking about purple elephants or blue tigers, they're not really related. I mean, yes, they're both colored animals that aren't really real, but completely different things. So you optimize each post individually. All of the images on your website, you want to make sure those are optimized as well. And there is a certain way to do it. There's a recommended way, but honestly, sometimes I forget and I don't optimize them at all. And it's fine if it's not. It's just better if you do. So media, so that's pictures, videos, sound clips, if you're doing that on your website. I know people who do podcasts have those on there. So make sure those are optimized as well. And captioning those in a blog post, hint, hint, great idea for your SEO as well. And so once everything on your website is optimized individually for each little tiny thing, that's where the bigger picture starts to come into place. So for example, myself, every single blog post on my Boss Mama Diaries website is different. One day I post about how, my husband drives me insane, and also he's super sweet. I love him, don't get me wrong, but also we live together. There's a pandemic. Some posts I get to vent. He's given me permission, it's fine. But then in other posts, I talk about how, I recently published a recipe on blueberry muffins that could be both accommodated dairy-free and going up that dairy ladder that we're working on. Those are two completely different blog posts. But they do still relate to the Boss Mama Diaries and how I live, my day-to-day life as a work-from-home boss. So that's where there's a whole workshop on this that I can do. But it's called content pillars. Think of that, Greek monument with the pillars and the roof. So the roof is your website, and each pillar is a content topic or category on your website. So that recipe, I have a lot of food categories. So there's a content pillar on food. And a way to keep your SEO juice going is every end or throughout one of those blog posts that, for example, I'm posting my recipes, I link back to that main page or post about, hey, I'm going to blog about food. One of my categories is food. Link back so that when the person's done reading that blog post, there's a next step. They don't just exit your website. You want them to stay as long as humanly possible, and even then some. Hey, keep the robots a little longer. So that is a great way to do it. And again, there's a whole workshop that is available on that content alone, so I don't expect you to learn everything from this workshop. But it'll give you a great idea of where you're at and whether or not you are ready for that next workshop or you want to start with the basics and move your way up. And that's why I have them all separated, because to do this, I used to have a full 8-hour day workshop. And even at the end of that, I have my group of people can ask questions, catch up, and I walk them through certain things because it is a super complicated thing. As much as there's tiny little simple tasks that you can do, it is a huge to-do. It's like building a house. You can't just boom. I wish I could, but you can't. You have to, the foundation, the walls, then the painting, and the decor thing on the table is the last step. And I'm happy to walk you through it, but not in this workshop. We're laying down that foundation. The SEO 5-day challenge will get you those walls, and then we can build up from there. So back from my house metaphor, next is why and how you should repurpose all of that content. There's a few reasons why, which I will go over it not in detail, but essentially backlinks is the why, because let's say you post something on Instagram and you have a little bit more elaborated on your website. Well, you want to link from Instagram back to your website. That is why it's called a backlink. There's, of course, the scams out there that email you and, hey, let's put this on your website. We'll pay you good money and we'll do it to you. Don't pay money for that. No, it's not worth it. I won't go into why robot and scammers are not cool. Let's talk about the cool, awesome ways that you can benefit from it. So on Instagram, you can take a blog post. Let's say this blog post has 4 content-heavy paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, look at that. 4 posts on Instagram, 4 posts on Facebook. You can strategically tell that same story on video, and you can post it in your IGTV. You can post it on Facebook. You can post it on YouTube if you have a YouTube channel. You can do TikTok or a reel of all sorts of little snippets of that content, and then you all link it back to your website so that if someone is interested in what they're seeing and they want to learn more, super easy for them to just click on through. So that way you are literally everywhere on the internet, which helps the SEO, but also it's less work for you. That is the ultimate goal. Work smarter, not harder, so that everything that you are posting about gives you the best bang for your theoretical buck, because I mean, as much as we pay for a website and hosting and stuff, you're not paying to publish on your website. So you want to make sure that, let's say it takes you 4 hours to get a blog post out, from conception to photo taking to drafting to editing to getting ready to publish and then actually publishing it and then sharing it to all your platforms. Yes, this is a full-time job. See? Business. It is a business, full-time job. Don't sell yourself short. It takes a lot of time and effort to get all this done. So for each one that you do, you want to make sure that you get the most out of it. Again, always thinking of the human self, and in this case, you are the human. Think of yourself and then all of your readers. Not everyone follows you on the same platform, and that is okay. Well, you may have a ton of followers on Instagram. You may have not a lot on Facebook or Twitter. And you may have a ton on Pinterest. Don't forget about Pinterest. It's awesome. Even for your Instagram and TikTok stuff, share those videos to Pinterest so that someone who's on their phone doing Pinterest can literally find you in whatever platform that they find the best on there. Pinterest is and should be considered a search engine. It's not as popular or as big as, let's say, Google or Bing, but it has every format other than text. They've added video recently, and I'm behind on this. It's been a while. My mom days are catching up with me here. But you can post your social media stuff to Pinterest. You can post your blogging things to Pinterest and really make it a well-rounded content for people to find you in. So that is all of the why. I'm sure there's more, but that's the basics of it. But from here, yes, Pinterest is definitely something you want to learn about if you haven't already. I have my notes somewhere for a workshop on Pinterest, but I can definitely put one of those out in a shorter form soon. It literally lets you do so much with all you have to do is add to Pinterest, and most of the time, if you've optimized your stuff ready on your website, it'll just come up for you. You just paste the little sentence paragraph that you want to, that's most relevant to your website, and again, the SEO juice just comes on back to find you. And the last thing that I want to touch base on the repurposing content is guest posting. I'm not sure about you, but I get literally dozens of emails a day for, are you accepting guest posts? We'd like to guest post, from scammers. So definitely be careful on who you accept, what you accept to your content in terms of publishing on your own website, but also do take the time and acknowledge the value of guest posting on someone else's website. So for example, my Boss Mama Diaries website, it's literally about me. Like, it's my life as a boss mom. It doesn't make sense for me to allow guest posts. But on my newborn photography website, I don't know everything. Like, I know how to photograph babies and I know my job. And as a mom, I learned how to swaddle. I learned how to, help my kids sleep better. I learned how to do some food things. I learned all sorts of things on the job. But there are experts out there that know all of those things. So I get them to write a blog post on, let's say most recently, I have a wonderful nutritionist who wrote about baby-led weaning, whereas I know a fair amount of it, but I learned most of my stuff from the internet. I'm not an expert. That's literally her specialty. She has a degree certification in this. So she wrote a post on the best way to start baby's first food, whether it's baby-led weaning or if you go the purees or whatever. We could literally talk for hours about this on that blog post. So she got to share her expertise with an audience who is overlapping with her clientele. So my clients are typically from pregnancy through baby's first year, and that's really the best time to start feeding your baby solid or not so solid foods. So that's where her expertise comes into handy. She can get clients from my audience and everyone's happy. The clients, the readers get valuable information. I have valuable information to share with my clients, and the guest poster gets an extra audience to share their content with. So it's definitely a full circle that comes around. And that's where you need to find somewhere that if you're going to guest post, it's the best place for you. For someone who is not related to baby or motherhood at all, it would not be a good idea to post on, let's say, a baby blog. So it's definitely important that you find the right audience and platform for you to share your expertise with. But it's also important to make sure that anytime you are accepting guest posts onto your site or publishing somewhere else, that it be original content. So I'm not saying you need to reinvent the wheel. I'm saying that it can't be plagiarized. And even though it could literally be copy-paste from what you wrote before onto someone else's website, that is still considered internet version of plagiarism, in the sense that it's not original. It's already been shared. we already have this one, it's fine, we don't need to share that. So it's not going to help in any way other than the human factor. So if that's important to you and that's why you're doing it, awesome, do it. You will so benefit from it. But in terms of internet plagiarism, is even if you've written the whole thing, change parts of it. Keep that big important paragraph, rejig it a little bit, talk about one extra thing, not so much talk about this, so that it's definitely the same content but different. And I know that's easier to say than do, but it's important that you do that so that it does help the SEO in the long run. But also, audiences don't want to read the same thing over and over again. So even though they're reading pretty well, step A, B, C, D, well, you could say A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, and don't just change the numbers to letters. That's not really what I mean. It's a case of, how can you tell someone how to do something a different way? It's like the way that people learn. Some people are visual, some people are, they need to hear it, some people need to write notes. So think of that concept and apply it to whatever content that you are resharing. Same goes for if you're publishing something on your website, change it a little bit before you share it to your next platform. Changing something to make it a little bit different, but also when they get to that blog post, they're going to read it they don't want to read it all over again. They want to read more. So make sure that it's always different that way. So that is my quick, not so quick on SEO for bloggers and small businesses. So I will take a few minutes to answer any questions that have popped up during the workshop that we are kind of doing. I say workshop because that's what I'm used to doing in person, whereas this feels more like a spew awesome information at you type thing. But I want to make sure your questions are answered. So hit them up that way, and once we're done that, I will go over more detail of the SEO 5-day challenge and how you can sign up. So were there any questions so far? Perfect, yes, you can definitely send me a DM afterwards or send me an email or whichever platform you should find me. So I will touch base quickly on that 5-day SEO challenge. So you can reach that challenge lots of ways. The easiest way is to go to the bossmama.collective link in bio, and it will say 5-day SEO challenge, and you can click and sign up for the mailing list. One email will be sent to you as a welcome. Here's how to prepare for the challenge. It officially starts on March 1st, and you will get one email per day with a small but very important actionable task that should take you about 30 minutes. If you have no clue what you're doing, maybe set aside an hour just so you can kind of get your bearings without losing too much time in your schedule. And of course, it's a 5-day challenge. It's a 5-email challenge. So if you in your mind want to do 1 email per week, that's totally fine. It's been set up as a 5-day challenge so that by the end of day 5, you had time and relatively easy, okay, let's go do this, and make a to-do list of what to do after that. And of course, I'm always available for questions, but that's the way that it's set up so that you can easily do it. Even if you don't really know what you're doing, it's designed so that even someone who didn't know what SEO stood for until today, you can figure it out too. I promise. And from there, I am offering a whole bunch of other different workshops as well. So if you want to sign up for the business information, I call them the Boss Mama Education Series in general, you can go to education.bossmamadiaries.com, and that list is there, and I will be sharing as each course becomes available, some of which are free so that you can dip your toes in. Make sure that you jive with how I do things. I know that I have a very fun but sarcastic and deadpan humor. Some people love it, others they just prefer to read my documents, and that's totally cool. Those are both part of the workshops so that everyone can learn in whichever way that they do. So if there aren't any more questions, I will leave you with a quick outro. My name is Stephanie DeMontney, and I am an educator, photographer, and mom who works from home. And I can be found online pretty well every single platform that I know of at Boss Mama Diaries. And for those of you who are local to Ottawa, I can also be found at Pure Natural Newborn for my portrait studio. And if you have any questions, you can either send them along to Emily, because we have been gracefully given her platform. Thank you, Emily. And you can find her at emilyharrington.ca. And we are more than happy to facilitate all the questions or finding the experts who can actually answer them for you if we can't. Thank you so much. Bye.